All right, new episode of the Big Blue Report with the two-time Super Bowl champion and defensive captain of the New York Football Giants, Jonathan Casillas. I'm Randy Zellea from backsportspage.com, and Dr. Darlington, Big Daddy D, Ryan Darlington is here with us. We added the doctor, because I feel like he's slowly becoming a professor of football.
I needed some kind of credential, right? And two-time beer pong champion doesn't quite have the same ring as two-time Super Bowl champion. So we'll go with Dr. Darlington.
Hey, you'd have did well at the University of Wisconsin. That's for sure. Beer pong is like a legendary game up there, baby.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah, man.
So let's celebrate, Giants fans. We are in the playoffs. What a win against the Indianapolis Colts this past Sunday at MetLife Stadium. And I got to tell you, boys, something I never thought I'd ever hear. Crowd was sitting there chanting Daniel Jones.
MVP.
Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones. It was a very it was the first wire-to-wire win that they've had all year where the outcome was not in doubt by halftime. It was like it was over at halftime. JC, you were there. What did you see from the Giants, even though it was against the Colts? What did you see on the field from this Giants team?
Well, they played a complimentary football game. I think this is the first time we've seen all three facets of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, all play together, and we got a defensive touchdown from Landon Collins, and a dominant performance by Daniel Jones, which I think we were all kind of leaning towards that way for the last 2-3 weeks about Daniel Jones being that guy and being a guy that's capable of doing what he did. 4 touchdowns, almost 100 rushing yards, just being efficient, you know what I mean? The whole game, making really good decisions, and still, Randy, I still don't like how he doesn't get out of bounds on time. He doesn't slide at the right time.
Yeah.
He might be a little bit better, but out of all the parts of his game, I feel like that's the part that he needs to figure out, because I don't know how many hits he's going to keep taking like that. He is tough, but I mean, one hit the wrong way, you know what I mean? That's not good,
Didn't
man.
we see that on Monday night? One hit the wrong way at the wrong time can do something bad to you.
And that's literally the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. And there is no avoiding that. But Daniel Jones, because of the position he plays, he actually can avoid certain hits like that. You know what I mean?
I did think of you, JC. I don't know if you noticed, but the first time he scrambled, he got maybe 7 or 8 yards up the field. And then when he went down, he actually avoided contact. He slid and he avoided one guy, and I was like, that's what JC's been talking about. We need to do more of that.
He did it. Same thing.
And we all grab our phones going, he did it.
He did it.
Yeah.
But then the next 3, 4, 5, 6 times he ran,
man. The slid could have been a little earlier, possibly so, but he did slide. I think the referees probably missed that call. Not probably, they missed that call with the contact to the top of the head of a quarterback. But look, when I look at the game, I left at a decent time so I can get to the dispensary and get home at a decent time, afterwards. But I watched the whole game, and it was a dominant performance all the way through. They allowed a little bit, Indianapolis to kind of do a little bit of things and put together a drive, but all around, Saquon played very well. Richie James played extremely well. Isaiah Hodgins played really well. The defensive line was dominant as they has been. Kayvon Thibodeau, look, man, the whole sack dance, I don't think he saw Foles. But the thing is, if he would have saw Foles, I don't know if that would have changed anything from him doing what he was doing anyway.
Yeah, I just got to point that out. He is laying motionless like this, and then there's Saquon. There's Kayvon going, Snow Angel.
He's hitting the guy. Every time he goes up and down, he's hitting the guy that he's got on the side of the. He fucking knows he's down, right? I gotta tell you, I'm not a big fan of that, right? I'm just not a big fan of that. It's not great sportsmanship, and I know everybody's gonna jump on me, being like, "Dude, just relax," right? But that's bad sportsmanship, dude. But you have to the guys down and you just cracked 5 of his ribs and you're selling. It's like you might as well just be going up and teabagging on it.
How do you know Well, thanks for the mental picture.
It's a Fortnite dance. It's
yeah,
not what you're thinking about.
Like, I just can't imagine Kayvon sitting there doing snow angels going, "Hey Nick, you all right?" And you hear Nick going,
And I saw when he was down. When he went down, I was like, he looks like he's in severe pain.
He's hurt. He wasn't quiet.
He was like I'm talking about Foles. He was like almost like convulsing.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
His
like
legs were moving all.
He was like lifting up his hips, and I'm like, man, he looked like he's hurt bad.
Well, yeah, and I guarantee you, he wasn't suffering in silence. The man was being vocal about the fact that he was
out loud.
Come on, have you broken a rib?
Absolutely, I have.
Yeah, does that shit hurt? Yeah,
it hurts bad.
Actually, the only thing you heard was help.
Yeah, right. And all he got was snow angels, right?
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Listen, I'm not going to dog my guy, right? Kayvon's been phenomenal, but that was a shit move.
Yeah,
if he knew that he was hurt and he was doing it anyway, that's a shit move. But that's just my not so not so popular opinion on this board.
Yep. So what do you think, Randy? What you make of the game?
So here's my thing, and Ryan and I have talked multiple times this week about this, and the one thing I have to say is awesome. They clinched the playoff spot. Again, happy accident this year. But when we start talking about, hey, this was a dominant performance, of course it was a dominant performance. The Colts didn't even have their third string quarterback out there. They were asking fans from the crowd if they wanted to come out and play quarterback. That's how tough it was for the Indianapolis Colts, who's had a very, very, very tough season. But you have to play the games that are on your schedule. And you know what? The Giants took advantage, and they did what they were supposed to do. If they would have gone out there and lost this game, they would have been calling for someone's head. Okay? They did what they were supposed to do. They went out there, they clinched their playoff spot. And you know what? There's only 14 of these teams that are going to the playoffs. The Giants have not seen that since the days that JC was there. So now, JC, I'm not calling you old by any means, but what I'm saying is the Giants have not been there since 2016. This is a big deal for not only the fans, but for the organization as well, because it's showing that the organization is on the right path.
Yeah.
Okay. We can. I'm sorry, Ryan. I'll let you get to that point. I promise. But this, I'm not meaning to jump ahead too much, but this was a very gritty team. And this has been the word I've been using on the phone with Ryan and everybody else when the conversations come up. This has been a very, very gritty team. And this is what's going to happen after the season is going to be very, very telling. Because, JC has said this so many times. A lot of undrafted guys, undrafted free agents are the guys who are the hungriest on the team. And there's a lot of those guys on the team who, even if because they played well this year, may not be back this year. So this might be their only opportunity at the dance of the playoffs. Because when a gritty team makes the playoffs and has success, those talented guys who are going to be looking for money when a team has money to spend might replace some of those gritty players. Mm-hmm. So this is a very big opportunity for this particular gritty Giants team. So I'm glad they were able to do it. I'm glad they were able to clinch. They made liars out of a lot of what quote unquote experts this year.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is go back to last week where we all gave our picks, right? And we were all in the 20s. We were all thinking it was going to be a close game. We were thinking it was going to be a defensive kind of struggle.
It was close.
It just wasn't. It was close in the third, maybe in the second quarter. But I mean, look, let's not lose sight of the fact, though. I mean, we could say, yes, it's the Colts. Yes, they're pretty terrible. But there's a reason why our predictions were the way they were, right? The defense is not terrible, right? This isn't the Morris Knowles JV squad, right? We just got the better of them. And we got the better of them because we played sound fundamental football. We played that complementary football that we've been talking about. The defense is no joke, right? And we were able to do something about that. And I think this is how you build momentum at any part in the season, is by gaining confidence, right? Where we seem to have lost things in the mid-season is when we kind of lost confidence in our ability, and we're starting to pick apart little pieces of the team that weren't working that well. But then as we start getting wins like the one that we got last week, we build some confidence, we build some momentum, and now we can go into this Philadelphia game next week knowing that it's not it's not going to change our position. Win, lose, or draw. It's not going to change anything about our position. So, I think we have momentum going into the playoffs, even just from that Colts game, which is a great thing.
I got told that I'm dressing next week.
So with that being said, you said they got momentum. Who?
He's making jokes.
I'm dressing this week. I'm dressing. I finally get to up Kenny Galladay. I'm gonna have more catches than him this year.
All right. Let's go back to what I was about to say, because that was nonsense what Randy's spewing out just now. Ryan, so with that being said, you said they have momentum from, the last game, coming off that big Colts win. The game before that, they had a loss, but it was a good effort against the Minnesota Vikings. And before that, it was a win versus the Washington Commanders. So I do see that they have momentum. With that being said, do they play everybody this weekend?
If it's me, and this is another one of those hardline positions that everybody's going to jump on me for, I don't play any of our starters. I sit everybody.
That's why I'm going to play.
I mean, I would, if we could bring up the entire practice squad and have them play on Sunday, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Just because it's literally a game that means nothing. And I hear what people are going to say, it can really make a big difference if you go and you show out and you do really well, even if you just keep it competitive. That's still a bump, right? That's what happened in 2007. So you can do that, but what if you go out there and you lay an egg? Remember the last time we played Philadelphia and we got fucking knocked around like it was nobody's business? If that same thing happens, all the momentum you've been building up is gone. It's gone because you played your guys and they looked like chumps.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth the risk. Any way you slice the cake, it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, I'm on the same side as you're thinking right now. Like I was watching Tiki and Tierney, and Tiki is adamant that they're gonna play their guys, and I'm like, Tiki, like what? Like, didn't you play football before? Like I'm just saying, like it's so weird, like how some people make takes like that, and it's like, look, I know they have momentum, but like the one thing that we can't let happen is somebody getting hurt in a meaningless game.
Correct.
In a game that has no implications on playoffs, no implications on where you're at, no implications on, I mean, a little bit with the draft, but like, that hindsight, you really want to get into that dance.
Yep.
You want to get into that dance healthy. Yep. That's the whole reason why you play the game, is to win a Super Bowl. And now they give the Giants have gave themselves an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl by getting into the playoffs. Why would you mess that up by playing somebody like a Daniel Jones, like a Saquon Barkley, like a Azeez Ojulari, who has his ankle going on, and then Leo Williams, who has his neck going on? I mean, there's a whole list of guys who has nicks and knacks, missed games here and there throughout the season, and it's like, why don't we just rest, like you said, everyone? And not only that, you get guys who maybe haven't played this year that can get adequate reps and get put into situations where they probably never got put into before. This is probably going to be some meaningful football played by some guys that we possibly never heard of, and I'm okay with that.
Everybody could use a break, right? I think Azeez has already been said that he's been out, that he's going to be out. Leo's going to be out. They shouldn't even dress. I mean,
well, they're not. Because I see that they're the only ones that are ruled out really right now that were active last week.
And, I think if anything, it's going to very closely mirror the first preseason game where they're in for a series or two. If you feel like you want to just prepare them, do the normal thing from a preparation standpoint so they're not thrown off all that much. If you want to throw them in, it's worth it to risk everything. Or imagine, it's just too much. It's too much on the line.
Don't even say imagine. Just say right. We all could think about the worst that could possibly happen, and that's one of the main guys going down. Daniel Jones being the main guy I'm thinking about right now, and we've been giving him his flowers and stuff because I feel like he's proven that he deserves to be the future quarterback for the New York Giants, not only this year, next year, but for the remaining future. He's a young guy. He has, I think, all the intangibles that you would want as a quarterback. And of course, the reason why he was drafted was because of his tangibles. He's big, he's tall, He got a pretty good arm.
Yeah.
He's fast, and he doesn't have a problem throwing the ball over the line. He's accurate. He's smart. He's composed. He shows his leadership, and he can win in New York, which is very hard to do. He made these receivers who nobody really knew who none of them were in the beginning of the season. Now these guys are household names, right now. People are saying Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James. Like, that's all I've been hearing this week. And Richie James has like 70-something catches this year, and now Isaiah Hodgins is a red zone threat. It's like, okay, how is that possible? That's because of Daniel Jones. So I tip my hat off to him. I might have given him his flowers a little too many times on this show, but he's one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why the Giants have had so much success this year. I think you can throw Dayball in there and Joe Shane in there as well, Wink Martindale and Kafka and the coaches. But man, you see that improving by Daniel Jones, and you see him stepping into that maybe not elite territory of quarterbacks, but that secondary group that includes like a Dak Prescott and some guys that have a lot more contractually wise than a lot of people in the NFL. But when it comes to winning games and being efficient, I'm gonna take Daniel Jones over people like that, and a lot of guys in that middle second tier of quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
Yep. The numbers aren't huge, but the QBR is, right.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about the quality of the work that he has done is really, really good. I think he's got the second best QBR in the league. It's like 125, something like that. It's ridiculous.
That is the number, by the way. Yes.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And I want to throw this in there too, because I want to give my opinion about what they should do this upcoming weekend. I don't think Daniel should play. I think that, you can, why don't you can deactivate Daniel just for this game, bring up Davis Webb, let Davis Webb actually make his regular season debut, because he has not played a regular season game yet.
Over Tyrod?
Well, I think he and Tyrod could split the time. I think at this point in time, you have nothing to gain.
So it's week 3.
You're trying to play this like a preseason. This ain't no preseason.
Week 3 of preseason.
It's still a regular season game, Randy.
It's listen.
You know what I'm saying?
But are you putting Saquon Barkley out there? No, this is the Matt Breida. This is the Matt Breida show this week. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the quarterback position is a little bit different than I feel like the position that's known to have multiple players at that position play, which is running back. And they alternate in. I think that's given. But I don't think. Look, I think I like Davis Webb, and I feel like he should be a number 2 a quarterback in his league. He deserves to be a number 2 quarterback. But the number 2 quarterback that the Giants have, Tyrod Taylor, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
and he actually will give the Giants a chance if some certain guys play. And they actually play competitively. And look, at the end of the day, when you look at the Eagles and who they have, and the reason why they haven't finished this season strong is because the best player in the NFL, I think he kind of proved that from being out. People thought that you would take Jalen Hurts away from the Eagles offense and you put in Gardner Minshew, whoever. You put them in there and then they'll have success. That was not the case. Jalen Hurts is that guy, but he is coming back with his throwing shoulder injury is there. That's going to inhibit his throwing, and it's going to inhibit his rushing ability. So this is going to be a different Eagles team than we've seen in the past, and they may not be better than the last 2 weeks, which they lost the last 2 weeks to teams that I don't feel like they're as good as them.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There is a chance, even with Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback. I think there's a chance.
JC, let me ask you a question though, because you've been in the playoffs a lot of times in your career. Have you ever had a situation where that last week that you had already clinched, and what was the situation like? Were those guys sitting? What from your experiences? What do you remember from that?
Well, when I was in New England in 2014, we had clinched, and I think it was we had the number 1 seed, and we played Buffalo in week 17, which was the 16th game of the year. And it was starters got in for a little bit and then they got pulled out. I don't know if Tom suited up at all, but I know I was that third linebacker, and by second quarter, I was that first linebacker. Jamie Collins, Hightower rested that game. And then, I know I was one that played majority of the game. So New England chose to rest some of their starters, and we lost that Buffalo game, but it didn't mean anything. Like, it didn't mess up our momentum, and I don't think we lost since Green Bay, which was like midway through the season. So, the Patriots finished the season strong that year, but then lost that game at the end of the year. Like I said, it it didn't bother us at all that we lost that game because we knew we weren't at full strength, and it didn't mess up the momentum. We had the bye week, and we handled business in the playoffs. So I look, if I'm one of those guys on this roster right now, if I have stuff going on with my body, I would hope that I would get one of those. I'll be one of those guys that got the rest. But I was always game. If the coach said, JC, I want you to play for 2 quarters. JC, I want you to play the whole game. Like, I'm going to do it no matter what, because at this point, you're not playing for yourself. You don't really care about what's going on with your body. You're going to do whatever you need to do, take whatever you need to take to play in any game anyway. Hopefully, the guys that need rest can get rest, and it'll be very helpful for them because we need everybody playing on all cylinders, when it comes to next week, not this weekend, but next week when they go into possibly, I guess it'd be Minnesota again, and go ahead and pull out that dub.
That was actually the question that I had for you. As a player, let's say you're a starter, right? And it comes down to a time when the game doesn't mean all that much and the coach comes and says, hey, we're going to sit you this week. Does that screw you up? Does that screw up your preparation? Does that screw up your mentality? Or are you able to kind of just roll with it and give it your best shot the next week?
Like I said, it'll be up to the coach's decision. Like I was a full-time starter some of my career, and I was a special teams guy some of my career as well. So, I was able to do both. And for me, like, I would prefer to rest so I can be, fresh the next week. You know what I mean? And everybody has something going on right now. We're talking about they played over 20 weeks of football if you include preseason, with which is people are playing active games and hitting for at least multiple weeks before they even start playing games. So you have to account all of that. It's a very, very, very long season. And guys, look, you punch your ticket into the playoffs. This is the reason why you play football, is to play in this tournament. It's not to just go through the regular season and have good games and get booed at home. Like that's not why you play the game. You play the game to make it into the playoffs, to have a chance to win a Super Bowl. So you give yourself a chance to win, and I think the Giants will do that. I think they will rest the guys and give themselves a chance to not only come out healthy of this last game, but also, maybe develop some guys in this last game that can possibly play in the playoffs for that first round.
And not for nothing, but Tyrod's at the end of his contract at the end of this season. So maybe getting out there and getting a win might give them some good reason to lock him in.
You are incorrect on that. Tyrod signed a 2-year contract as a safety precaution, just in case it did not work with Daniel. They decided to let him walk.
This was the last year of that 2-year deal.
No, this is the first of the 2-year deal with Tyrod Taylor, which by the way is not, because this is what happened when Dable and Joe Sean were in Buffalo first time. They had Ryan Fitzpatrick. They decided they didn't want to go with Ryan. They let Tyrod Taylor play. They drafted Josh Allen, and Tyrod was the starter until Josh was ready, and then they moved Josh, and Tyrod became the backup, and then Tyrod moved on. They traded Tyrod out west.
Well, then everyone should know not to listen to me because I don't know what I'm talking about. And you can go ahead and strike that doctor title.
I think the only reason why I know this was because during OTAs and during voluntary workouts, we were all discussing this quarterback situation, because as soon as they said they weren't picking up the 5th-year option, it was like a countdown clock. And JC, you've been around the media a lot this year. These guys. These guys were all taking predictions on when Daniel was going to get pulled and when Tyrod was becoming the starter of this team. And that all went away, I think at 4-1, 5-1, that feeling ended up disappearing from all the beat writers, and they were trying to nitpick at other nonsense. So
yeah, I mean, there was a game, where Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, took over, like for the first, I guess, 6, 7, I guess 8, 9, I guess the first 7 games, the Giants were 6-1, and I feel like no one expected that. And then reality kind of hit, and then, some adversity hit. A lot of injuries happen. Bellinger gets hurt. Adoree Jackson gets hurt. Sterling Shepard goes on IR pretty early in the year, and then you got guys who weren't showing up. I think Kenny Golladay, his lack of production hurt the Giants big time, and they had to figure out, where they would go. And they bring in Isaiah Hodgins. All of a sudden, The kid comes back. What's the right tackle's name? Allen. What's his name? The
Evan
right
Neal?
tackle.
Yeah.
Evan Neal. Yeah, Evan
Evan
Neal.
Neal.
For some reason, I was
Yeah.
thinking Allen.
I
And
had a brain
Bellinger,
fart
they
too.
get
I
healthy.
forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he gets healthy, and then they start gelling on the offensive line, and then they finish this season strong, but the person that's been, I think, solid that entire time, not up and down, not worried about his injury or his health, not worried about him practicing, was Daniel Jones. He's been there that whole time, that steady factor, so look, I want to see, what the Giants are going to look like this weekend with I guess the B team that they're going to play. And I'm fully confident that they're going to do that, but I expect them to play a competitive game. I don't expect them to get beat as bad as they did the last time. I think you're going to have some guys out there not only just playing, for them to get the win, but playing for jobs. Maybe not on this team, but for other teams like Tyrod Taylor. He may not be here next year, given he's a solid quarterback, and he if he plays very well, he can have a shot to being somebody's starter. Because he's not going to start over Daniel Jones.
No.
I think Daniel put that to bed, and I think Tyrod Taylor, if you look at his numbers too, and you watch him play, he's a solid quarterback, he's always played very well. He's around 500 in his wins and losses, and he's a lot better than some of these starting quarterbacks right now.
So maybe we hope he goes out there on Sunday and plays a shit game so we can keep him next year.
Right. I love Tyrod. I think he's amazing. He's the vet. He's the vet on the team. He's like one of the oldest guys on the team,
Do I have to come out and officially apologize and say I'm sorry and say that I was wrong about Daniel?
Yeah. I think you should.
I think look, no, like, being serious, I was one of those people that were predicting by a certain point of the season
You said
he
4
was gonna,
games. 4 games you gave him.
Oh, you don't understand.
4?
It was 4 games.
It was between 4 and I think games between 4 and 6. It was, again, you have to look at what we were dealing with. JC, you remember in the beginning of the season what we were looking at preseason, even the first half.
Just didn't know.
At the Tennessee, you were sitting there saying, and the clock starts now. It was one of those things where, you're just looking at it and going, man, what's going to happen? And maybe we all should have said after that Tennessee game, the Giants put everybody on notice by shocking the Super Bowl favorite from the year before, because people picked Tennessee the year before to go to the Super Bowl. So, like, we looked at the schedule before the season started, and Ryan and I were like, we're going to get 6 wins.
6 wins.
Yeah, that's
maybe. That was the optimistic version with 6 wins.
And I went over to Julian Love and a couple other guys in the locker room, and I asked that. I said, look, if you would have told Giants fans 7 wins at the beginning of the year, they would have booked a parade. They would have shut down the parking lot of MetLife Stadium. They would have canceled the flea market on Saturday. It would have been a great party at MetLife Stadium. But the simple fact of the matter is this team got gritty, and man, you have to take your hat off to Wink, because he really took what he had, and he shined all these guys' strengths and hid their weaknesses. There's one name that we have not heard over the last couple weeks, from a guy who got lost in Joe Judge's regime, and that's O'Shane Ximines. We have not heard his name over the last few weeks. He hasn't been as impactful as where he was at the beginning of the season. But he said the comment to me that really stuck in my head over the last 2 to 3 weeks. He said, sometimes you just have a positive locker room where nobody looks at the negative. They know that something negative can happen on the field, but they all stick together. I asked Landon Collins, JC, about the comparison between the 16 team and this year's team from the last time they were in the playoffs. And he said, this is the type of team that everybody loves each other. The offenses hang out with the defense. And Landon says it wasn't as tight-knit of a group as it was in 2016. I wanted to get your response to that comment that Landon made.
He said that this team is tighter than the 16 team.
Yeah.
I can't even argue that, because the 16 we were, defensively we all hung out together. Jack Rabbit, JPP, Snacks, OV, Keenan Robinson, Kelvin Shepard. Like, we always were hanging out. Leon Hall would just pop up every now and again in spots, like we had so many guys that were hanging out. But man, listen, after this game on Sunday, the guys were out. I happened to see some of the guys out, and everybody on the team was there, including Daniel Jones, and I was sitting there looking at Tyrod like, hey man, we ain't never get Eli out. we ain't never did that, you know. So look, this team, I think, you know, seeing them basically, you know, celebrating this victory, you know, this huge victory to get them in the first playoff bid since 2016, and every single body, I mean, not maybe not everybody on the team, but it was like 70% of the guys that were out, man. And you know, you saw offensive guys, offensive linemen. Like I said, the quarterback was there. Look, like everybody on the defense was there, you know, and I walked away from that saying, this is good. This is good. This is really good. They got all the guys together hanging out, man. And you know, when you spend time with people outside of the facility, you know, you look at them differently. You know, they start becoming more family. You know, I feel like that's why a lot of people felt so intensely about when Hanlon went down, you know, because they understand that he is one of the brothers. You know what I mean? Like when you strap those pads on for the first time, you know, you locked in and you go ahead and hit with some guys. Like no matter what, man, you got to respect that, you know, and then what really goes into making a roster, you know, like what really goes into playing 16, 17 game seasons, you know, like it takes a lot. You know, it takes a strong man and a strong man's mentality to do that. You know, so that's why, you know, you got so much respect for these guys. And but that's the bond that everybody, you know, like the bond that people like me, I'm retired 5 years. That's what I miss the most. The bond with the guys, you know. And last Sunday when I actually, you know, kind of hung around them a little bit, I'm like, man, this is good, man. It felt like, you know, kind of like the old days with me in New Orleans and then me in 2016. And you know, I just felt good about the team after that. Yes, the victory was good, but hanging out afterwards, I feel like that was even bigger than the game.
I just remember too, right in the beginning of the third quarter, we're coming back from our little halftime snack, and Darius fumbled the ball. And JC looks right down. He's up here. I'm walking down here. JC goes, "What the hell?" just just like that. He goes, "What the hell?" And I was like, and like the first, I'll be the first one to tell you, man. Like the camaraderie when the team is playing well, the players have great camaraderie, but us in the media room, we have a lot of fun too. And JC sees that with what all of us there, like with the Pat Leonards and the Jordan Renards. Like if you see, I've been in a media room during a losing season, and it's pure silence.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you're in a media room during a winning season, and this is practice during the week, we're all having fun too because we'll stop writing and all of a sudden it turns into this crazy off-topic stuff, and we're like, okay, well, I wonder if the guy, I'm going to ask the guys in the locker room if they've ever seen this movie or that movie, and it turns into a great thing, and it trickles down, and it's one of the reasons why I always say when the organization has its goals and are being successful from the top all the way down to the last player, it becomes fun all around. The Yankees and the Giants have always been the teams that have always let their goals be known. What uh, the mission statement is. That was what I was looking for. Sorry for stalling there. The mission statement of the Yankees have always been the World Series or bust. If they don't make the World Series, the Yankees send out a letter to their season ticket holders apologizing for not winning the World Series. The Giants are a class organization. They apologize to their fans for if they don't make the playoffs or they don't make the Super Bowl, and they promise they're going to do better. Other organizations are just like, thank you for sending us your money.
Yeah, thanks for your money. Right. We're going to go buy a Maserati now. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's aligned. Right, the plan, it takes a lot, and some of it's luck. I think it takes a lot for the planets to align in the way that it seems like it has this year, from ownership through the general manager, through the head coach to the players, with everybody kind of buying into the system. And I think it's because the individual talent, but individual effort. Right. And if you are going to show that you are going to give that individual effort, then you are going to get playing time. It's not about how big your contract is. Clearly, it's not about how big of a name you are. It's not about anything other than what we see on the field during practice is going to determine what you're going to see on the field in a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hear Dayball saying that over and over and over again every week, and that's what he goes by, and their
Right.
keep, and that doesn't guarantee if you play well one week that you'll be a starter or playing as many snaps you did the previous week and this next week, and look, I I think that keeps everybody on that practice to actually show what they got. And I think Dayball is really starting to figure out who his guys are. I think Landon Collins, he had a question about if he was a guy or not. That's why he was up and down, and they didn't use that that last, I guess, that practice squad game, that if they play him, they got to pay him for the whole year or whatever. But they finally did it because I think they believe that he's one of the guys. You know what I mean? And I think Lenny Collins will be back next year, and I hope he retires as a New York Giant. I think that'll be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
He comes in and he has instant impact right away.
Well, he learns a new position right away. Right? I mean, he's always been kind of that heavy hitting safety. Now he's an outside linebacker. You know what I mean?
That hybrid type of player that he's coverage.
Perfect for
perfect.
Perfect
for it.
So great fit. I was so excited to see that pick six, man. I was going ape shit. Everybody was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Almost yelled in the press box, Randy.
Yeah, you saw my text. JC, you saw my text too. JC saw my text. I was like, "Yeah, Landon." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, Landon."
Yeah, baby. I love seeing the guys that work hard to get it, work and see the tangible results, see them actually get it. Sorry, Randy, go ahead.
I wanted to just real quickly do our predictions for this weekend, and then we have story time with JC, and then we are going to be playoff bound next week. So let's start with you, JC. What do we got for this weekend in this anticlimactic week 18?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't expect the Philadelphia Eagles to be as high powered on offense as we've seen in the past, especially last month when the Giants played them, and basically they beat the brakes off the Giants. I don't really see them being like that, given Jalen Hurts' shoulder. And I feel like they have taken a step back in terms of defense. Sweat being out, in injuries kind of happened to them as it caught up to every team throughout the year, and they're kind of experiencing it right now at pretty much the worst time of the year. So I don't expect them to score 30 points. I don't think they're even capable of doing that right now. So look, I think the Giants will rest a lot of guys this week, and I don't think this is going to be the Giants team that we've been seeing all year, this improvement. But I think whoever they put out there is going to be a hard, scrappy, gritty bunch, because it's not just the starters, it's the culture that they have in the locker room now. So I don't know if they can beat this Philly team, even if they stay conservative, given Jalen Hurts' shoulder. But I think they can keep it within one score. So I'm going to go, let's go 28-21. Philly.
Yeah. Dr. Darlington.
I think my prediction is that because it's a bit of a meaningless game, I'm not going to give a shit what the score is at the end of the game. But if we're trying to pick out numbers here, JC, I think all of your points are absolutely on par. It's not the team that it was when they beat us up a few weeks ago. I do think the Giants are going to put out a team that's going to play hard. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that want to show what they have, that want to prove that they can play at this level and on one of the biggest stages in football. I think it's probably going to be a little bit of a lower scoring affair, maybe 24-17 Philly.
I think that the Giants are going to be missing some key guys. I think everyone's going to play hard. We joke about the quarterback situation on how Ryan was going to play quarterback this week, but I think that we're looking at this game, and I think it's good 21-14 Eagles. Eagles still have something to play for. That's the one thing that we always seem to forget about. They haven't locked up the number 1 seed as of yet.
Oh no, I didn't forget about that. What the alternative if the Giants beat them? It's the Cowboys, so it's the lose-lose situation.
It's a kiss your sister situation. You don't
lose or the Cowboys, right? Which terrible other team in the NFC East that you want? We don't want either one of them. But I don't know if I said this last week, but there's a little scenario that I think is a little more likely than people would even dream of, that the Giants can possibly host the playoff game.
Come
Do
on.
you know that?
I didn't realize that.
No, I'm
Do you
listening.
know that?
Some
I'm
weird
listening.
combination. Yeah.
But let me hear. Let me let you guys hear about kind of where everything is at. And I had a conversation with my PT guy. He's a big Green Bay Packer fan. And the Green Bay, they have the 7th seed, or they can win against the Lions and secure that 7th seed. And that means they're going to go and play Philly or whoever, is that, I guess that 2nd seed. It'll be them or San Fran, given what happens, but it's most likely, it's going to be San Fran. It's going to be the Eagles probably going to have that number 1 seed. San Fran's going to have that number 2 seed. You telling me Aaron Rodgers can't go in there and beat the 49ers? And then after that, turn around and they're going to have to beat the Eagles in Philly.
Randy,
I think Aaron Rodgers could do that.
I think he can too. Randy hates it when we talk like this, but yeah, I think you're right.
But then Giants go ahead and let's say the Giants handle business this weekend. Let's say they don't. Whatever happens this weekend doesn't matter. We've discussed that. But let's say the first round of playoffs, the Giants go in Minnesota and kick some ass up there in Minneapolis, right? And then they got to turn around and play who? The Dallas Cowboys, probably. Probably so.
Yeah.
Right, because the 7th seed would have to play the 1 seed, and then we would play the other winner of, I guess, the Cowboys and
who would Dallas get?
The Bucks.
That's the question. The Bucks,
the Cowboys and the Bucks, right? You know what I'm saying? So if the Giants get 2 wins and Green Bay get 2 wins, the Giants is hosting Green Bay for the NFC Championship. I'm just saying. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, but
does it really?
9 wins sounded crazy at the beginning of the season.
So the playoffs sounded crazy. Green Bay making the playoffs after their horrible start this year. The Giants, fighting for their playoff lives all year before the season. Like you said before the season that the Giants going to make the playoffs and have 9 wins. That sounded crazy.
Yeah.
Now that they're in the great thing about being in the tournament,
that's right,
that you could make up crazy scenarios like that.
And they said at the very beginning of the season, you're absolutely right. I remember them saying, "Hey, our goal is the playoffs. Our goal is to make the playoffs." And at the very beginning of the season, I was like, "Okay, that's nice, bulletin board material. It's a nice marketing thing. I think they're going to make the playoffs. That's cute." But here we are. Crazy shit has happened.
I just can't believe I just heard a scenario where the Giants can host a home game. I just listened to that and my jaw just dropped. I'm sitting there going, wouldn't that be a bitch if that happened, man?
That made my heart happy.
But it's not as like far-fetched as people think.
Yeah.
It's really not.
And it made total sense.
The Giants they won 2 Super Bowls from the number 6 seed. And if I'm not mistaken, Green Bay won a Super Bowl from the number 6 seed.
That's right.
If I'm not mistaken. So it's not far out there, boys. It's not.
I'll
be home again in a few weeks, boy.
That's why you play the games, fellas.
I love cricket. You know what? You know what's funny too, Randy? Because I didn't think like this when I played ball. You know what I mean? Like I really didn't. But then I'm a fan, and I get like I start meeting so many different fans. I'm like, oh, they're a little bit delusional fans, So I'm in the delusional part. You know what I mean? But I can make up crazy scenarios. But I tell you what, there's somebody out there that thought the Giants were going to have 10 wins this year. And they have a possibility of getting to 10 wins.
I know.
Somebody thought that. I don't know who, but there's one person out there, delusional fan. And he was right.
Yeah, man.
He was more correct than most of us.
We can get his predictions for next week for sure.
Yeah, and also I'm also going to ask him for this week's lottery numbers as well. I think that's a very fair thing to ask him. Okay, and like I said, I think it's going to be 21-14. I think it'll be a one-score game. I think it'll be tight. Before we start out, finish up with story time with JC. Guys, check out the show. We are all over the place: iHeartRadio, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify. I gotta thank Ryan and JC for all the work they've done this year. It's been a lot of fun so far, and we're not done yet. We're not done yet. JC, how you taking us home this week?
Oh, so it's just throw me story
Story
time,
time.
and I
You
got to tell you a story.
got-
He had,
no one's gonna
Ryan, he
care
had
about my.
questions early in the year,
Yeah.
and then I was getting into the story. Now he's like,
No,
JT,
no,
just
here
give
it
me a
is.
story
Yeah, you
now.
better come up with
Well,
one.
I was
It
about to
better be
say
good.
nobody wants to hear my stories. I can tell you stories about times I went to NFL games. You can tell us about being in the NFL games.
I could tell you about the
Well,
time I went to Giant Stadium, and I have a thing with heights. I have acrophobia, and I got out into that third tier because that's where our seats were, and I was like, I damn near
no way.
had a panic attack. I had to leave the game before it started.
No way.
Yeah, it was bad. I was
Oh,
like,
man. That's bad.
yeah, it's tough.
I
It was tough.
I
Yeah.
It was
I
a
can always
preseason game though. It didn't count.
I can always tell you about the time that Rodney Hampton walked into the media room, sure they had hot dogs. He took 7 hot dogs and ate them all.
Took him down. Took
He
him
took
down. The
him down.
glizzies. 7 glizzies. Sheesh.
He wasn't afraid to tackle those. By the way, one thing we did leave off: did LT fire up a crowd this past week?
Absolutely. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I was so hyped.
So good.
Oh,
So
I was
good to
so
see him.
hyped.
That was so
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, man, for sure. Let me see. Story.
Like nothing's gonna top last week's shark story.
That was a pretty good one. He started out strong with that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I could tell my shark story, but it's not nearly the same impact.
Not as dramatic.
It's different.
Let me think. Right.
On my way to the library. Yeah, no, not as cool.
That doesn't draw ratings, my friends. It draws
It does
concerns.
not.
It draws concerns, but not ratings.
You know what? I'll give a story. Given what happened to my man Hanlon from Buffalo, with my career, you know what I mean, and kind of how my stuff ended. We played against the Chargers in 2017, and Melvin Gordon was the running back, and that's the game where all the receivers got hurt. Odell got hurt. I think Sterling got hurt. Dwayne Harris got hurt, and then also God dang House of Athlete
Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall. I'm so bad with names. Like I just saw his name today. They all got hurt, and then I got hurt as well. I hurt my neck, right? And I hit Melvin Gordon for a 1-yard loss. It was a pirate stunt in front of me. I called it. Defensive line executed it perfectly. I scraped off, untouched, hit him in the backfield. Nice tackle for loss. And I've had neck problems leading up to this point, and it was difficult for me to face people up. Like when I hit them, back then it was okay to hit people face to face. Like he's a legal ball carrier. I can hit him face to face, and then that allows you to use your feet and drive them back. So I faced them up. Should never face them up. That's something I knew I couldn't do. I did it anyway. The impact hit me in my neck, and it shot down my arm, and it just like I lost strength in my arm for like 2 weeks.
Oh, geez.
And yeah, I was on the sideline, and Dr. Rob was kind of giving me some ART and some work on the sideline, and it was rough for me because now I start like second guessing, my neck and the history that I've had with these neck injuries. I've had epidurals throughout my whole spine, all the way up here in the C, all the way down, to like the L and 4 or 5, all the way down there, and I've rested for a month. Ronnie Barnes took care of me. He gave me, I think, adequate time to heal, but it still wasn't healed up. Then I came back. We played against the team formerly known as the Redskins, and Trent Williams was their tackle. And on stretch plays, I got to go in one-on-one with Trent Williams, basically.
Not
there's no shying away from that. This straight, face to face, man to man. And man, after that game, I couldn't move my neck. The ride home, I've had a stiff neck. We've all had stiff necks before. I couldn't turn my neck on the plane at all. And now I'm like, this is really bad. I'm like, this is bad. And that was Sunday night. Monday, I go in for treatment. And then Monday night, I watched Ryan Shazier end his career on national television on Monday Night Football at the same stadium that Hanlon just got hurt in.
Yep.
And that brought me to tears, just like the Hanlon thing did when I saw that. Because not that I was there laying on the field motionless like those guys were. I wasn't like that. But my career was ended because of an injury like that. And the next day after that Ryan Shazier hit, I went into Ronnie Barnes' office, the head trainer of the Giants, and I was like, Ronnie, I'm done. I don't want to play football no more. I just watched Ryan Shazier, a kid that favors me, that they said resembled me coming out of college, who I train with for the last 4 years since he's been in the NFL. I watched him paralyze himself. And Ronnie, I can't move my neck. So Ronnie was like, calm down, JC, don't make no decisions when you're so emotional, because I was. This was very difficult for me to see. It was very, very difficult for me to feel. I couldn't turn my neck, and I got to worry about playing whoever we were playing that week, and that's a really tough feeling. I don't think it's anywhere close to what even the teammates of Hanlon felt this past weekend. I mean, past Monday, when I got, I got my, my different plugs, I got my different. I heard when he fell down, he damn near bit his tongue off.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Imagine seeing that. Imagine somebody, and then the CPR, and then the probably breaking of the rib cage.
They had to defibrillate him. They took out the defibrillator and they had to intubate him on the field.
That mean he died.
He died. He was dead when he hit the ground.
That mean he died on the field. Right. And the guys were seeing that. Like, that had to have been one of the craziest sights. Like, they will remember this forever, not just in sports. I'm talking about in life. And they'll be able to tell their kids very vividly what they saw, because you don't forget anything like that, and I'm not comparing, I figured, like, since the incident happened, and I felt that because I was in a situation where basically injuries ended my career, and I hope the kid can play football again. But most importantly, I hope he can just return to normal enough function to walk. And I know he's off the breathing tubes right now. I hope he stays off. I hope his lungs work and his heart beats very powerfully forever and ever and ever. And then maybe eventually, Lord willing, that he ends up playing football again. Because I was done. I was done. And that's why when people ask me, like, you itching to play? No, I'm not. Yes, I want to play and make plays, but I got to hit people. I play linebacker. So that means I can't. You know what I mean? I can't do it. And that's what really keeps me grounded and keeps me like, I'm not going to ever hit nobody.
Well, not in that way.
Well, in that situation, football is such a secondary thing when especially in his situation. Like, because, and that's the one thing, a couple people ask me, how come football players earn a lot? They earn a lot of money, or sometimes they don't earn as much as they should, because the pounding that their body takes. Anthony Nunez. You look at his hands. His hands are all gnarled up and disfigured, and that and they were, for a long time, they were considering not giving health benefits to retired players. I'm glad they were able to fight and get that. Because it's such a very tough, a tough world that you guys played in.
For sure. Well, I think what I liked seeing, one of the things that I liked seeing is the league's response to what happened. And I guess seeing a little bit more humanity in the league than I was expecting to see. Right? When you see something like that, when you see your brother dead on the field and having to be resuscitated and carted off, there's no way you're going to be able to turn around and go back and play, concentrating on your playbook. And I mean, this is a game of emotion, and your emotions are improperly directed at that point when you're trying to think about whether or not your brother's dead. Right. So I was really excited to see, that there was conversations that were happening between the coaches and the league office and the PA, Players Association. And they all came to the right decision, which is, we're not doing this tonight. A man almost died here, and humanity is more important than the game. And that's not always been that kind of message. So I was happy with that, even if there are some folks that aren't necessarily super excited about the game not being played.
There was a lot of class showed.
Yeah.
I feel like by the Bengals crowd, I think they were very appropriate. Usually something like this happens. I think boos can come.
Yeah.
There was no boo. There was not one. There was a lot of people at that game. A lot of people wanted to watch that game.
Yeah.
They were there. They paid.
Yeah.
And what they, they really didn't see. I don't think they saw the like what the players saw, because they're up a little high up. But I'm pretty sure their phones have, they all have access to their phones, and they were very aware of what was going on. And I feel like with them exiting the way they did, and kind of just staying.
There was no complaint about canceling that.
You know what I mean? And
nobody's throwing shit on the
fans,
field.
right? Yeah. Fans going to the hospital afterwards. I think that was classy by Cincinnati, Ohio. And how they handled themselves, and both organizations, McDermott and Coach Taylor, I feel like they were class acts. And look, this was an unprecedented issue. We know, like I've heard. Look, I'm 35. I played football for 17 years. I know guys that were around football for twice as long as I've been alive for. You know what I mean? They said, I've never seen this before.
Yep.
This is unprecedented territory, but look, the guy's breathing like he's doing good. And like, how good is that news when you hear somebody that we don't know this guy? You know what I mean? We all know him just like everybody else knows him. But we're all so happy, that he's alive. And that's a beautiful, powerful thing right now, and there's been a lot of negativity in the world in the last few years, a lot of negativity around sports, especially football, in the last few years. When you talk about, head trauma, CTE, TBIs, stuff like that, and then all the domestic violence stuff that, you see like so many people who come together, to basically anoint this kid and pray over him and, manifest for him. And, man, that's such a beautiful thing, man. And he's motivated me. I'm sitting there like, man, he raised all that money with the toy drive.
Like $7 million.
I need to go ahead and get my toy drive going.
And then just, die on the field, and yours, it'll go through the roof as
well. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, sure.
I just had that momentum. I'm like,
look, I'm here to help.
We're not encouraging anyone to go die on the field.
No.
The doctor's in. I'm giving prescriptions.
No. But look, we're all happy. We're all happy to see him.
Yeah,
for me, I think the Bengals, they have a right to kind of feel some type of way about, what they're going to do with their last game. But the thing is, it has nothing to do with us on this side of the bracket. So we're good.
I was going to say, not only the Bengals, but the Bills too. I said to myself, man, like after hearing the positive news, I'm like, what they're playing for now.
Oh,
they're
I was just going to say, they're not just playing dangerous now.
Yeah, they're very motivated to do this for their fallen brother. And, this is going to, they're going to be very, very dangerous. Hey, guys, don't forget to check out the Big Blue Report, like I said, on all social media and podcast platforms. JC, like I said, has been amazing on this show. Ryan, too, as we're winding down the season. I consider myself the luckiest guy in the room. I get to listen to two guys who are so passionate about the game, just like we all are. Three guys, one media guy, one former player, and, Big Daddy D talking Doctor Daddy D. That's gonna be
that's D, baby.
That's right. He's double D. We're the luckiest guys in the room. Check out the show. Check out the archives. We have a lot of fun doing all this, and we have a lot more great things coming to you. Guys, enjoy the game this upcoming Sunday. Next week, we start previewing playoffs. I never thought I would say this on playoffs.
You kidding me?
We're talking about playoffs? I can't even
trying to win a game.
You're trying to win a game. I can't even talk about the playoffs.
Love it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, guys, we'll see you next week here on the Big Blue Report. See you later.
All right, fellas. Enjoy your weekend.